All right, let's talk about something that every single developer has an opinion on: code comments. We're going to really dig into how to write them, when to write them, and maybe most importantly, when not to. Yeah, I know. That sounds totally backward, right? We're all taught from day one that commenting your code is what a good, responsible programmer does. But what if that's not the whole story? Stick with me, because we're about to flip that idea on its head. So here's our game plan. We're going to start by busting a huge myth about commenting. Then we'll look at why certain types of comments are actually a problem. After that, we'll get into the good stuff, letting your code speak for itself, figuring out when you absolutely should use comments, and we'll finish up with some new rules you can take with you. Okay, first things first, let's tackle this big commenting myth, a trap that honestly most of us fall into when we're starting out. Another one, this idea that you need to leave a little trail of breadcrumbs explaining every single line of code. It comes from a good place, right? You want to be helpful. But, as we're about to see, it's often a sign that something else is wrong. So, what's the big deal with explaining what your code does? Well, these what comments, they're usually just a band-aid covering up a bigger wound: messy, unreadable code. We've all seen this, haven't we? This giant paragraph of a comment desperately trying to untangle a web of confusing code sitting right below it. This is a massive red flag. That comment is basically just an apology for the code that's about to follow. And this is the mental shift that changes everything. This is what separates junior from senior developers. The goal isn't to get better at explaining our confusing code. The goal is to write code that's so clean, it doesn't even need an explanation in the first place. So if we don't use comments to explain the code, then what's the solution? Well, it's actually pretty beautiful in its simplicity. You make the code explain itself. You write code that is the comment. And for a lot of people, this is a real light bulb moment. Let's give this a proper name. We'll call it self-descriptive code. It's all about using clear, purposeful names for your functions and variables. So instead of X, temp, or usestuff, your code is filled with names that tell a story. The code becomes its own documentation. Okay, look at this. It's a perfect example. On the left, we've got this gnarly loop, and it needs a comment just to tell us what it's trying to do. Now look at the right. All that mess is gone. It's replaced by one simple, easy-to-read function call: isPrime. The name of the function is the comment. It's just so much cleaner. Here's another one. On the left, it's just a long sheet of code with comments acting like chapter titles. But on the right, those big chunks of code have been pulled out into their own functions. Add whiskey, add juice. You can read that and instantly understand the recipe. No comments needed. That's your code doing the talking. Okay. So am I saying to just delete all of your comments and never write one again? No, absolutely not. It just means that good comments have a different, much more important job to do than just explaining what a line of code does. So let's talk about when they're not just good, but totally necessary. See, the pros save their comments for the big, important stuff that the code can't explain on its own. And usually, that falls into one of three buckets. You're either describing the high-level architecture, you're documenting how to use a function, or, and this is a big one, you're explaining why you did something a certain way. So first up, architectural comments. Think of these as the blueprint for your project. They give you that bird's eye view. They don't care about the tiny details of one line. They explain how the major systems connect and talk to each other. This is what helps another developer get up to speed in minutes instead of days. Next, you need to document how to use your functions. And a fantastic tool for this is something like JSDoc. Now, this isn't about what's happening inside the function. This is the user manual. It tells other developers and your future self exactly what to plug in and what they're going to get out. Just look at this POW function example. I don't need to read a single line of the actual code inside. This comment block tells me everything: what it does, what it needs, and what it returns. And as a bonus, most modern code editors can read this and give you hints and autocomplete, super powerful stuff. And that brings us to my personal favorite, and maybe the most valuable comment you can ever write: the why comment. Your code is amazing at telling you how it's doing something. What it can never tell you is why you chose that solution instead of the 10 other options you thought about. And this is just so critical. If you ever write a piece of code that looks a little weird, or it's a bit counterintuitive, you have to leave a comment explaining why it's like that. You're saving someone, maybe even yourself 6 months from now, from coming along, thinking they're being clever by fixing it, and accidentally reintroducing an old bug. All right, let's pull all of this together. We've covered a lot, so let's boil it down into a simple guide you can start using right away. Here you go. your new cheat sheet. On the left, this is the good stuff. Comment on the big picture, the function manuals, and the why behind your weird but necessary solutions. And on the right, this is what you avoid. Don't write comments that just repeat what the code is doing. If your code is clear, those comments are just noise. Ultimately, being a great developer is about knowing what to write, but it's also about knowing what not to write. A clean code base with no comments explaining the obvious is just as impressive as a complex system with really great high-level documentation. It's all about that balance. So, I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. The next time you're about to write a comment, just stop for a second and ask yourself, am I explaining something the code can't, or am I just apologizing for making a mess? If it's an apology, you know what to do. Rewrite the code. Thanks for tuning in.